raging forest fire. 90% of such disasters are preventable. Family violence. 300,000 child abuse cases are reported annually, and 60% of all married couples engage in physical violence. Nonviolent crime that happens once every 3 seconds in the United States. Problems. They gnaw at America's very fiber. They cry out for help. Fortunately, within the American spirit are the resources to find solutions. Unique, fresh, innovative ones. For decades, one energetic group of business people has confronted our nation's toughest problems with an ingenious and effective American solution: advertising.
People start pollution. People can stop it.
Our country is facing serious energy problems. Unless we use our resources wisely, we're heading for trouble.
I've been moseying around Washington, D.C. here trying to find out what our hired help is doing about inflation.
If you don't help keep Red Cross ready, who will?
Papa, what about the fire?
Oh, forget it. It'll go out by itself.
You wouldn't want bears to be careless with fire in your home. So don't be careless in theirs.
Peace Corps, the toughest job you'll ever love.
The Advertising Council began in 1942, right after the start of World War II. For the first time, the forces of advertising, print, and electronic media joined together to help the war effort. The impact was overwhelming. The government sold over $50 billion in bonds between 1942 and 1945. The blend of talent that gave birth to that first campaign was too powerful to disband, and the War Advertising Council became, in peacetime, simply the Advertising Council. Today, the Council still strikes at America's toughest and most sensitive problems.
One of the campaigns that I think is of very special importance is the Child Abuse Prevention Campaign. In many ways, it's one of the most sensitive subjects to deal with. I think that an awful lot of people in this country don't even want to think about the fact of child abuse, but it's essential that we look at it. I think we have to acknowledge the fact that violence within the home is one of the most important social issues we all have to confront.
Children who are beaten up every year.
This Child Abuse Prevention Campaign is a masterpiece of creativity, and I think it's beginning to make a difference.
Battered or sexually abused. Some die. Others keep on suffering, hoping the hurt will stop.
Abused children are helpless unless you help.
Find out how.
In my opinion, the Advertising Council represents the greatest example of volunteerism in the world. Just about every other country of the world, the kind of Advertising Council campaigns that are conducted to solve social problems are paid for by the government.
The Advertising Council is actually a very complicated mechanism. We have scores, even hundreds of organizations that we work with, and literally thousands of people, all of whose efforts have to be mobilized and brought together to produce the kind of campaigns we do.
A campaign begins with a public service organization's request for help. The Council receives up to 300 requests each year. A public policy committee, composed of labor leaders, educators, and other public representatives, helps determine priorities among the many social issues the Council could address. Before winning support, an organization faces 3 critical steps: an initial screening by the Ad Council staff, a presentation to the Campaign Review Committee, and endorsement by the full Council Board of Directors. To understand this process better, let's follow the progress of one campaign from its inception. The problem? Crime in America.
And now I'd like to introduce the president of the National Council on Crime and Delinquency, Mr. Milton Rector. Mr. Rector is an expert in the field of crime and jurisprudence. Mr. Rector?
Thank you, Mr. Kelly, and directors of the Advertising Council. You have before you in our letter a summary of the proposed campaign on community crime prevention that I want to discuss with you today. We approached the Advertising Council to take on a campaign following a meeting with the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I think the council saw the need for it. There were just masses of crimes that were crimes of opportunity, and that the citizens could do something about that. So the council came back to us quite quickly, asked us to present a design, and on the basis of that, we went to search for funding. Well, I think the Law Enforcement Assistance Administration of the Justice Department will be the most likely financial supporter.
Advertising agencies donate the creative work on Ad Council campaigns. The media donate the space and airtime to run the campaigns, a contribution worth over $1.5 billion per year. The sponsoring organization, however, must pay the out-of-pocket costs for items like TV production and printing of advertising materials. When a campaign receives approval, the council assembles a task force. The Association of National Advertisers, representing the corporate advertising community, selects a volunteer coordinator. This individual is usually a corporation's head of advertising, marketing, or communication. The ANA asked Ed Dooley, Citibank's Vice President, Director of Advertising and Marketing Services, to act as volunteer coordinator.
I was absolutely amazed that they wanted me to coordinate a campaign against crime, because I just couldn't see how any advertising campaign could possibly have any effect on this terrible problem. The role of the voluntary coordinator is really twofold. First, the person has to work with the advertising agency and whatever organizations he's working with to develop a campaign strategy. And then secondly, the execution of the advertising itself. A third function is that you have to shepherd the program through all of the various steps and facets that it has to undergo before it goes on the air.
Next, the council selects a campaign manager from its internal staff.
My role at the Advertising Council is that of a campaign manager, and I manage 7 of the council's 28 major campaigns. I act as the liaison between the client, the agency, and the media, coordinating all their activities.
The American Association of Advertising Agencies, the major trade organization within the advertising industry, selects an agency to donate the talent to create the campaign.
We never have a problem in finding an advertising agency for a volunteer advertising council campaign. At any one time, we probably have about 25 agencies who are standing in line waiting to be assigned one of these campaigns.
Our proposed new crime prevention campaign by our volunteer advertising agency, Dancer Fitzgerald and Sample. We know we have Stu Upson here, chairman of Dancer Fitzgerald and Sample, who's on our board, of course, but we have...
We treat our advertising council work just like every other client. Procter & Gamble, Toyota, General Mills. Top talent, top people, full involvement. We value them, respect them, and we love the exposure.
Well, welcome to another great DFS lunch. The crime campaign has been a problem.
As we began to really get into this campaign, we really didn't know exactly what we were trying to accomplish or what the best way to get there was. And so we decided to learn about crime. We had to go out into the field and talk about people, their concerns about it, people that were victimized in some way, and also talk to the professionals who are involved in dealing with crime and crime prevention. So our advertising objective became to communicate that you can take action against crime and that you should take action, because change can only happen with your participation.
Well, you know, we've looked at problem solution, and crime happens, and then how do you stop crime? And we all figured, as you said, when I first mentioned it, that's been done. And we've looked at a number of phrases and slogans, trying to figure out is there something that we could use that would key this whole thing, come down on crime, crush crime, kill crime quick.
You have to know your market. You have to know what you're trying to sell, what you're trying to persuade. You have to put it together in a memorable, exciting way, and one particularly where the media who must run it free say, wow, that's great advertising, good for my community, good for my audience, I want to run it. So execution is terribly important.
And I got thinking of Smokey the Bear. I mean, there was a symbol, right? I mean, Smokey stood for no forest fires. And he was an animal, and I kept thinking, maybe there's some rallying animal that we could use. Your first thought of a rabbit, jump into crime, you know, or a mongoose, you know. That didn't seem quite right. And then, of course, came the idea. What is it that we all think of? There's a dog. I mean, a dog is your basic crime fighter. So, obviously, your line came to mind. Take a bite out of crime. And then we thought, what kind of a dog would we have in this? So we asked the art directors to come up with the various points, and they came up with some very interesting ones. The first one is a big protective dog that is standing over the house or a neighborhood, always looking down and always guarding. And a very rough sketch, and we thought this was pretty good, but we said it's a little too insurance-y. It's a little like Hartford and their deer. It's nice for an insurance company, but not a spokes dog for this campaign. So they came up with another one. Another art director came up with this, Sarge dog. You know, you'd listen to him. He knows what he's talking about. He's been around, and it's a very nice dog. And he has a kind of a fatherly figure as you're there. Okay? Now, next, one of the art directors came in and said, how about this? Held this dog up. And we said, well, you know, it's a little cute, isn't he? I mean, is anybody going to listen to that dog? It's a little puppy. He said, but when a crime is committed, when help is needed, look what happens. He becomes Wonder Dog. And we said, fine, let's put that in. That may be a possibility. And then one of the art directors, another one said, listen, you want a tough dog? There you are. J. Edgar Dog. We said, well, yeah, that's a possibility. We don't maybe have a little problem in certain areas in Washington, but it certainly is a candidate. And then Sherry Nemmers and Ray Cravassi came in, and they said, Jack, think for a minute. Who knows more about crime than anyone else, really?
Columbo.
Right, Columbo. Not only Columbo, but a combination of Columbo, Bogart, Sam Spade, all of the early detectives, the private eyes that we've always known about.
The character, the dog, is perfect in many ways. Perfect because we're dealing with a fearsome subject, crime, yet using a character who's animated, who's live, who can be a little bit funny, who never will treat crime lightly, but who can make the understanding of crime prevention much more palatable, much less scary.
And here we have him, your basic detective dog, the crime dog.
Great. I think it's great, Jack.
Thank you. That's just terrific.
After the agency staff agreed on this creative approach, they presented their idea to the council for final approval.
By having our dog become a character who says things like, excuse me, while you're standing there, here's 5 ways not to...
The board applauded the concept, and the agency staff went back to prepare the actual advertising campaign.
You're going to see how this works. Let me show you and take you through the first commercial. Now, we open on a doorknob, and the doorknob is sitting there, and it's beginning to turn. Very tight shot, and you hear this door, and you hear the sound. As it squeakily opens, and you see the door eerie starts to open, and the shadows come through. It's very dark, very mysterious, and suddenly, wow, a flashlight. The beam hits you in the eye, and you look at this, and the beam comes towards you, and you're waiting, and behind the beam is our dog, standing in his raincoat. And he says, you know what I think you forgot to lock your door. And you see, he starts to scratch his head like here. It's a funny thing. A lot of people do that. They forget. It's too bad because, see, all crime needs is a chance. Hey, don't give it a chance, huh? Lock your windows, make them secure, and light up your doors. Light goes on. Lights make burglars nervous. Come back to our dog. Say, I understand you're going to Peoria next week. Well, while you're gone, have a neighbor keep an eye on your house. Pick up your mail, you know, keep the place looking lived in. And use a timer to turn lights on and off. Hey, fudge brownies. And me on a diet. Oh, you don't know me, see. It's my job to teach you to protect yourselves. Make it your job to learn. Write to Box 6600, Rockville, Maryland. And one more thing. Lock your doors. That's an easy way to, take a bite out of crime.
In addition to television, the volunteer agency prepares a coordinated campaign embracing other media as well.
The Crime Prevention Coalition and the Ad Council present The Crime Dog. Listen to this song.
Radio, newspapers, consumer and business magazines, billboards, and transit.
For the year 1980, the numbers are finally in, and they're very impressive. Contributions from various media to Advertising Council campaigns. Newspapers contributed 49,700 ads in 1980. Magazines gave the Advertising Council campaigns 2,800 ads. The business press, almost 5,500 ads targeted to their specialized audiences. The outdoor business gave us 49,800 posters, very impressive number. The transit industry, 865,000 car cards, buses, trains, subways, stations, variety of places. Broadcast radio gave us over 5.5 million commercials, both in local and network spots. And in television, we received almost 1.3 million in terms of both local and network spots. You take all of these contributions from the various media combined, it's almost $600 million in 1980. And viewed as a whole, it makes the Advertising Council the largest advertiser in the United States.
And check your home periodically. That's taking a bite out of crime. Start chewing. Take a bite out of crime.
The Advertising Council. Does it really find solutions? We asked 4 campaign sponsors.
The Forest Fire Prevention Program is now approaching its 40th year in cooperation with the Advertising Council, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Forest Service, and the National Association of State Foresters. Since 1942, the Advertising Council's efforts have reduced the number of fires caused by people's carelessness to half. This has also reduced the number of acres burned to half.
Remember, when you're in the forest, you're among friends.
The estimated time and space that has been contributed by the media to this campaign is over $50 million annually.
The purpose of the Advertising Council's campaign on the American economic system is to create a better understanding of the system among the American public. We decided that advertising by itself could not possibly explain this complicated subject. So we determined that we would have a booklet that would be offered in the advertising, which people could get simply by sending in for it.
And it's free. Every American should know what this booklet says about our economic system. For your free copy...
Since the beginning of the campaign, over 14 million booklets have been put in the hands of the American people.
The United Negro College Fund, which was formed in 1944, raises funds throughout the nation for 41 predominantly black private colleges. During the 8-year period that we have been clients of the Advertising Council, we have raised 1.5 times as much money as we raised during the entire 27-year period prior to our becoming a client. If the United Negro College Fund had to pay for the free advertising that we receive through the Advertising Council, it would cost us $30 million a year. The amount of advertising places us among the top 100 advertisers in the nation.
The Bodie Plantation was one of the largest cotton plantations in the country. Today on this very site is a United Negro College Fund member school, producing graduates who become doctors, lawyers, and chemists, and your contributions make theirs possible.
It took a lot to turn a cotton plantation into a college that plants the seeds of knowledge. Now let's get to work.
Give to the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
In 80 million mailboxes across the USA, the census is a-coming to help us plan the way, to show us where we're going so that we can understand what's needed for the future of our land. Can we count on you?
You can count on me.
There's no question that the success that we've had with the 1980 program can be attributed in great part to the advertising program. The purpose of the 1980 Census Advertising Program was to reach out to the American people and apprise them of the importance of the census, also to assure them that their information would be kept confidential, and finally to ask them to take the action step, which was to mail the form back without any additional follow-up on the Census Bureau's part. It's our estimate that the advertising campaign, if we had paid for it out of government funds, would have cost the taxpayers about $40 million.
and we count on you.
You can count on me.
And together we will see each other through. Answer the census, we're counting on you. Answer the census, we're counting on you.
Getting Americans to respond to the census, educating the public about our economic system, generating support for black colleges, preventing forest fires. 4 American problems that move closer to solution, thanks to the efforts of the
Deposit, the government's giving me more free time. And I give it to them.
Most of the men and women in prison today were abused children.
Help our colleges cope with inflation. The money you give may decide whether I'm to be or...
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country.
Hats off, America, to the folks who make it grow. Hats off, America, say thanks to the ones who make it go. Working 9 to 5, trucking round the clock, growing or sowing in the mines on the dock. Hats off, America, to the folks who make it grow.
Here's hats off to the American worker, especially the millions of you who buy United States savings bonds through the payroll savings plan. You not only help your savings grow, you help your country grow too.
Hats off, America, here's what it's all about. The folks who love America put a little back of what they take out. Millions of working women and men buy U.S. bonds through the payroll plan.